In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a popcorn garland for your Christmas tree. This DIY is a fresh take on the traditional garland. Since it's made out of felt, you can reuse it year after year, making it a timeless and sustainable addition to your holidays traditions.
Welcome, my pretties, to the Awfully Sweet channel.
To make a piece of popcorn, I'm using a pattern that I drew and printed on cardstock paper. The pattern is available on my Facebook page. The link is in the description box. Using a regular pen, I'm tracing the largest shape onto white felt. I then carefully cut around the shape just inside the blue lines using small scissors. I traced the smaller shape onto baby blue felt. I chose baby blue to complement my Christmas tree's frozen cold theme that includes icicles, snowflakes, blue ornaments, and blue lights. For a more realistic and traditional look, I would alternate light yellow, yellow, and ginger throughout the garland. Of course, you can choose any color or combination you like and get as creative as you want. I placed the baby blue piece centered on top of the white piece. I'm using white DMC Embroidery Floss to sew them together. You'll need a short length of thread for each piece of popcorn, but I find it easier to work with a longer strand. I place the embroidery floss inside of my needle and make 2 knots at one end. I'm going to stitch a circle across the 2 shapes. I'm starting on the right section in the middle of the baby blue felt. The knot faces me and I ensure it's not too close to the edges of the white piece when I flip my work. I then form a circle by spacing my stitches evenly from the edges. When I reach the end, I complete the circle by returning to my first stitch. To add dimension to my popcorn, I'm using cotton balls. To create a small and cute shape, tightly roll your cotton ball and place it at the center of your work. To close your piece of popcorn, gently pull on the embroidery floss. Place your needle under the first stitch, tie a knot, and pull tightly to secure it. Take your time and do it gradually. To hide the embroidery floss inside the popcorn, insert the needle close to the knot and let it come out at the top. Your needle will be angled just like this. Next, trim the excess embroidery floss inside the popcorn. You can easily move the opening and pull on the floss for easier cutting. With that, our first piece of popcorn is now complete. I'm being extra by adding a touch of glitter with silver glitter dimensional fabric paint. I transferred the paint into a small squeeze bottle to work with a fine tip. It lets you trace small details so smoothly with ease and precision. This step is completely optional, but I'm adding glitter to match the glitter already abundant in my Christmas tree. I trace over the edges of the white and baby blue felt, working on one half at a time. I let the first half dry overnight on a tray before completing the other half and allowing it to dry as well. While the paint is still wet, it will appear opaque and the glitter won't be very visible. Once it dries, the paint becomes transparent, revealing the sparkling glitter underneath. I'm being extra by adding a touch of shimmer with white pearl metallic acrylic paint. Once again, this step is completely optional. I just want my garland to be festive and shiny. Using a small paintbrush, I enhance the texture of the popcorn by applying paint to the raised areas. I focus on the parts that stick out the most, creating a dry brush effect on top for added dimension. Since this is a very thin layer of paint that dries quickly, I painted the entire popcorn at once and let it dry on my work surface, a gray silicone mat that you can see on my table. I also wanted to add some peppermint pinwheel candies to my garland. To do this, I drew and printed a long rectangular stripe on cardstock paper. This pattern is also available on my Facebook page. Using a regular pen, I traced the stripe onto 3 shades of blue, but you can choose any colors you like. I cut each stripe along the blue lines using long scissors. If you prefer a popcorn-only garland, feel free to skip this step. I then stack them from the darkest shade to the lightest. Using hot glue, I secure the stripes together at the top. I ensure each stripe is perfectly aligned before rolling them together. I apply hot glue as I go to keep everything stable and in place. After rolling the stripes, you'll notice that their lengths don't align perfectly at the end. I leave the darkest blue as is, then trim the lightest blue slightly shorter so that the darkest one can fully cover it when rolled, leaving enough space for hot glue. Next, I cut the middle stripe slightly shorter than the lightest one. This creates a gradual spiral effect, which looks more natural and visually appealing than cutting them all evenly. When I'm happy with the adjusted lengths, I glue each stripe in place to complete the shape of my peppermint candy. I can't resist. I have to add a touch of glitter using the same glitter dimensional fabric paint to match my popcorn pieces. I pick the prettiest side of my peppermint candy and trace a few circles with the paint. Holding the tip of my squeeze bottle parallel to the candy, I spread the paint evenly across the surface, just like spreading peanut butter on bread, except this looks like layering sugar on even more sugar.
Delicious.
Now that we've mastered making popcorn pieces and peppermint candies, it's time to create a whole batch of them to assemble the garland. I personally made around 200 popcorn pieces and 30 peppermint candies to decorate my Christmas tree. Once you have finished creating your little army of salty sweet treats, the final step is to assemble the garland. I'm using a very long strand of white embroidery floss, almost an entire skein. If you're unsure about the exact length needed for your project, don't worry. It's easy to adjust by adding or trimming the floss as you go. To start, I thread the embroidery floss through a needle and position the needle near the middle of the thread. I make 2 knots at one hand and hide the floss inside a piece of popcorn by inserting the needle through the top and bringing it out near the knot we made earlier when closing the popcorn. Essentially, we are reversing the original process. This time, we're coming in from the top and exiting near the knot instead of the other way around. I hope that makes sense. I then add 6 more popcorn pieces, making a total of 7. To string them together, I pass my needle near the knot of each popcorn piece, threading it straight through from side to side. Next, I add a peppermint candy. Inserting the needle through the candies can be a bit tricky due to the hot glue. Carefully find a spot that allows the needle to pass through the center from side to side. To make this step easier, I sometimes press the needle against the table for extra leverage. This is the pattern I followed for my garland. 7 popcorn pieces, 1 candy. 7 popcorn pieces, 1 candy, repeating until all the pieces are used. I have now reached the end of my embroidery floss, but I still have more pieces to string onto my garland. For the last popcorn piece that fits on this section of floss, I pass my needle near the knot and guide it through the top. Next, I make a small stitch inside the popcorn at the point where the floss emerges, ensuring the stitch stays within the surface and isn't visible from the outside. I then secure it by tying 2 knots. I trim the excess floss and reinforce the knot with a dab of hot glue for extra stability. I cut a new piece of white embroidery floss, making it longer than I think I'll need. I repeat the same process as before. I tie 2 knots at one hand, thread the floss through my needle, and use the last popcorn from the previous section as the first popcorn for this new thread. To seamlessly continue the garland, I insert the needle through the top of the popcorn and guide it out the other side, hiding the floss inside. From there, I keep stringing the pieces as if it were on continuous thread, following the 7 popcorns, 1 candy pattern. When I finally reach the last piece of popcorn, I repeat the same finishing process as before. I pass my needle near the knot and guide it through the top. Then I make a small stitch inside the popcorn and tie 2 knots. I trim the excess embroidery floss and reinforce the knot with a small dab of hot glue. And with that, the felt Christmas popcorn garland is complete. I know this project is quite time-consuming, especially if you go the extra mile with glitter and metallic paint. This DIY is far from a quick 5 minutes craft, and I understand it's not for everyone. But I truly enjoyed making mine, and I love that I can reuse it year after year as part of my holiday decor. While working on this, I filmed this tutorial, but I also binge-watched a lot of movies. If you're like me and love indulging in Hallmark Christmas movies during the holiday season, this is the perfect DIY to keep your hands busy without requiring too much concentration. The repetitive process of making popcorn pieces is so simple that I even crafted some in the car while my husband was driving. I hope that you liked this tutorial and that you feel inspired to give it a try. If you're one of the brave and dedicated crafters who completed this popcorn garland, I truly wish it becomes a cherished part of your holiday traditions for years to come. If you made it this far and enjoyed DIY crafts for home decor, please be sweet and leave me a little treat by clicking on my pumpkin bell to subscribe to the Awfully Sweet channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to know when a new video comes up. There is always enough room on my broom for another crafty ghoul. Thank you for hanging out with me. Have a fabulous day. Bye!